So as we're waiting on some folks, Jeff was nice enough, and maybe Dee, you had a hand in this, putting together a slideshow of pictures from the Wanblee village, the families working together, some of the classes that Mary had discussed, the goats, obviously. So be thinking of some of the questions you would like to ask, some of the things you're curious about. For those of you perhaps who have visited Wanblee, maybe you have a story or something you want to share as well. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to all of you folks. There are microphones on, you might be sitting on them. There are 2 mics up there. And so you can just pass those. Yeah, there's just 2 of them, so you can just pass them side to side as you want to speak. But I'll let you take it away. But just telling us a little bit about the backstory of how you and Bob found your way to Pine Ridge Reservation, and what were your plans prior to going there? What did you think life would have looked like, and how did that change?
I can do that. As he told you, I was an educator for quite a while, and then I was a nurse. I actually retired from hospital nursing. I don't know. Bob kept saying when he was ready to retire, well, what do you want to do? You want to get an RV and go travel and do this and that? And, well, where are we going to go? I said, I don't know. I'll know at the time. I don't know right now. And I kept saying that because I really meant it. I really didn't know. I couldn't see myself traveling from RV park to RV park. That would be great for maybe a month. But I'd run out of books, and it just wasn't enough. And when you've spent your life like I have, and you've been in school most of that time, and you've gained skills, and you've been blessed to do stuff, I just couldn't see sitting down and not doing something with that. And now that I look back down that road, you know, hindsight's marvelous. As I look back on that road, I see how all this has been a path that has led to where we are now. I was the originator of coming out. I came out as a chaperone for a high school group. I've worked with other indigenous groups and traveled and done all sorts of stuff. But one of the unit clerks in the hospital said, Mary, I'm going to Pine Ridge. Can you come out? I need a medical person. It was a school trip. I said, I've never heard of Pine Ridge. I have no idea. But I'm up for an adventure, and if I can get the time off from work, I will come. Little did I know it was March and I was going to freeze to death. So every day I wore my flannel pajamas under my jeans and my coat. She failed to tell me that part. But I did that for 3 years. And the more I went out, the more I learned, the more I looked around and said, you know, we have skills, Bob. We've got some skills, and we need to consider supporting people here. He was Bob the Builder at the time, not ready to retire by any means, and he had grandiose ideas of traveling all over the world and doing all this marvelous, wonderful stuff. And that was great, because I love to travel. But at the end, what have you done? What have you done with your life? I don't think we accumulate skills and knowledge just to write a book about it. Writing a book is great, but I think it's acquired skills and acquired knowledge to share that. I think that's what that's all about, and I maybe will be wrong, but that's how I'm going down. So yeah, I finally convinced him. We started by just taking trailer loads of stuff out that people needed. We did that for a while, built 2 houses, and kept doing things like that. And finally, it was like, Bob, nothing's changing. Nothing is changing. I think if we want to see change, we're going to have to be change. And so I retired from the hospital. I had my sister for a while who was disabled, and then farmed her out to my little sister, and he finally relinquished his company and decided to come out too. And we moved out we actually moved out in 2017. We formed the nonprofit in 2013, but we moved out in 2017. And we have been there ever since. Sold our house in Wisconsin. We moved from Wisconsin, where we moved from. Sold our house to my niece, who was not happy when we did that. Our house was always that safe house for the kids. And they ganged up on me, 3 of them. And they said, but you're not going to leave. You can't leave the safe house. I said, hey, whoa. If this warehouse is that important to you, why don't you buy it? Keep it the safe house. I'll still be around. And they did. One of the girls did. So we still have a place to go back home when we go back to Wisconsin. But certainly families working together has evolved and has changed over the course of years. And it's not done. It will continue and continue. And like I said before, none of this happens without the combined effort of all of us. It takes all of us to do this. So very grateful for that last song. I want the words to that song. Because under God, we are all one. We all have diversity, but we're all one. And I'm very grateful for that. So I'm going to turn it over to Akeisha. Are you ready? Sure. All right. This is Akeisha.
Good morning. My name's, I feel weird sitting when I'm talking, but good morning. My name's Akeisha. I grew up on the reservation and, grew up, not to focus too much on the poverty aspects, but yeah, we grew up in poverty. My family's house burnt down in a fire and we didn't have insurance or anything like that, so we ended up living out in the woods for a while, or, out in the country with, hauling water and doing homework by oil lamp. And I remember getting so frustrated at the shadows while I'm trying to write by the oil lamp, because I remember what it was like living in a town, with lights and, having a flick of a switch and you have that convenience, and then growing up having nothing, and hauling our own water, splitting our own wood for heat and light and all that, and it's, moving back into housing and living in a reservation, and there is problems with crime, and I got involved with gangs and stuff like that. But then it's there's also a lot of good out there. There's a lot of good people and good kids and stuff like that who if they had a chance would find a better way to live their lives and stuff. And it's we have the problems with the housing situation. Sometimes there's, I've seen 22, 16 people in a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom or whatever. And so it's even though it's kind of nice because you have that closeness with all your relatives, your cousins become like brothers or sisters, and, it's almost like a never-ending sleepover at points, but when you start getting older and you start, your own family, you start working a job, and it's like you want something for yourself, and, you want the space to think, the space to, find peace or, things like that, or trying to start a family, it's hard for a lot of people out there. And it's hard on the reservation. There's not a lot of opportunities. There's not a lot of housing. There's not a lot of consistency. It seems to be an issue out there. And so I left the reservation for a while. I think it was 2015. I left after I got custody of my nephew when my brother went to prison, and then. When I brought him back home, I ended up going out, dropped him back off with my brother, and ended up going to Standing Rock. And then I just stayed away for a while. It was 10 years, and I came back this past fall. And, it was way worse than what I remember, but, I started getting more involved in the community, start helping out with Mary and Georgia down there. And, Georgia's been one of my educational advisors for many years, really helpful, and it's good to see her continue on that help for the community. It's in spite of everything, there's always good people out there. There's always good people trying to do good in this world, and I think that's I grew up being traditional and stuff, so it's my grandfather was a Christian and my grandma was traditional, so I kind of grew up having both those influences. And it's like I think we can all agree that, like, we all want good for the people. We want to see our fellow man, our fellow relative, or whatever, be successful, happy, healthy, and living a good life. And it's like finding that common ground amongst all the different people in the communities. I started working at the school, and started working as like an educational capacity, helping out with the kids in different grades. And it's like just a reminder, like when coming back, seeing how bad it's gotten. It's like it's great to see how much potential is there. There's so many smart kids, so many talented kids, so many creative, or physically, mentally, exceptional children that, like, with just the right, foot up, their potential is limitless, and with the housing, it seems like that's an issue, getting away from the drama at home, or getting away from, bad elements or something like that can, make a difference in their lives. So, helping out with the tiny homes or affordable housing, or trying to get these kids a good start, or getting their parents a good start so they can help them kids, reach that potential. It's kind of my goal. And I've been working construction since I was like 16, building houses from the ground up pretty much, started with concrete and then finished off with drywall. It's like, I've done it all, I guess, but it's like, I just want to help the community like that in that capacity. So, like they've been mentioning, like if you guys ever want to talk about different ideas or, potential ways that you guys could help, or, what we're thinking about, as far as like building affordable housing so, people can get that independence so they could start, getting out of those situations and improving their lives. I'm always willing to talk about that, but I think I've rambled on long enough, so I'll give this up to Thedna.
Oh, sure. Hi. My name is Thedna, and I grew up in Wanblee. I was born and raised in Pine Ridge Reservation, and my mom was always into education. So that's my part of this. I started with FWT when they began the Lakota Reads Project, which is a project that works with children, and more specifically with their parents or with adults. So we would teach the adults the signing strategy and help them teach their children so that we could bring our reading scores up. And one of the things that was really important to me is in the college where I work at Oglala Lakota College, I started in foundational studies. So the reason why I started in foundational studies was to give people the opportunity to go to school. So they would come in, their scores would be low in reading, their scores would be low in reading, writing, and math. And so the group that I was with, the department I was with, and I really started right at the foundation of that department, was to give them the chance to go to college and have a chance to finish college by giving them the skills that they needed. And when FWT talked about Lakota Reads, teaching the children, it was really exciting to me because it allows the children to grow those skills before they even get to college. And so we would have far less remediation. So that's where I got involved with this. But I see that having affordable housing or having housing is really important. And we have a lack of housing, so we have many people living in one house, and we see it at the college level as well. We have, during the pandemic, we went to Zoom classes, and we would have instructors who would say, you have to have your camera on. But the students didn't want to have the cameras on because they had children in the background, family members in the background, people cooking in the background. There's noise everywhere, and it's so hard to study. So we would open the centers, and we would open the centers on Sundays so they'd have a place to come and study, and during the week, a place to come and do their classes without so much going on behind them. So talk to Akeisha about tiny houses. I know we have a whole population, especially young people, who want to have a space of their own and a place of their own and a place to raise their children that isn't so loud. I'm like, what's going on back there? Oh, so cute. I missed it. But that's my part. I work with students. Akeisha is now one of my students. Eli is one of my students. And so my part in all of this is really education, but we want to reach further than that because it takes all of us to bring everybody up. Eli?
Okay, I was looking at the pictures behind us over on this screen here, and I was thinking about what I can talk about. Well, for me personally, what I can talk about has been helping Mary ever since when I first married like a couple years ago. My personal story is this. I was like up to 180 pounds. And when I got to meet Mary, I'm down to 145 pounds because she taught me how to eat healthy. And she used to get mad at me if I bring in like a can of soda or something. So, but she's really good. I mean, I love her. She taught me how to can and how to bake. And now I'm learning how to bake with gluten-free flour now, which I really love gluten-free stuff. So she's kind of been like my mom, and Bob's been like my dad. And without them, I never would have met like Dr. D and her husband Jeff, Neil, and his wife, and who all came last year, like Pastor Eric, who came. I would have never met him because I think I was kind of like a little lost soul then, nowhere to go, you know. But you know, when I met them, I have a home now. Families work. We always say families working together is like a home. You walk in, it feels so comfortable in there. Mary has something on the stove, or she said, "Make yourself at home." So my home, her home became my home now. So I always tell like all my friends, you know, like if you need a place to stay, come stay with us. You know, we're here. I told them Mary's a lovely woman. You could talk to her, and she'll listen to you. She'll show you around the building. If it's not her or Bob, it will be little Bailey. So Bailey knows the ropes too as well. We have guests, and Bailey will show them, oh, I can show you where to go and stuff. She'll take them upstairs to our loft area, you know, where the girls' dorm is, the boys' dorm is, where the bathroom's at, where the garden shed's at. And she even takes them out to see the chicken and the goats. So, but yeah, I love it. I mean, I enjoy being at families working together. And I really hope that you guys were able to come up with Pastor Eric or Neil, come up with them, spend a week or a weekend with us, and you will see that we are there for the families of Wanblee. And not only Wanblee, but other communities. You know, we are there for them. You know, we're there to help them. It's kind of like that saying goes, help me to help you. You know, and that's it. Thank you, guys.
Good morning, all my relatives. I greet you with a warm heart shake and a good heart. Mary picked a good team because we're all country people. We all lived, and we lived the hard way. We all crowded in one house, and as we got older, we had our own families. We moved on, and I know the whole Wanblee, Rosebud side. We deliver a lot of stuff you guys bring. I'm like the workhorse. When they call me, I'm there. I haul everything, beds. I'm a good helper. Whenever I'm home, I have a crowded house. I have 20 people in my house. My husband passed, so my house is so crowded, so that's how I got to meet these guys, by going down to the building. I always say I have nothing to do because I'm always ahead of myself. I check on the elders, the children, for their needs. what they need, and I know the whole town. I know the whole town, and I know their needs. And we do a garden, and I'm probably the best green thumb there. But I do a lot of garden, and I take it to Mary's, and we share. You know, we trade vegetables. I tried watermelon. It turned out good. But I think Bob ate it all up. But we do, we appreciate all your help that you bring our way. And we're always there to try something new, like we've been talking about the homes, and they're really, really crowded. And summer's coming, and it's going to be sad because we're going to have families living in tents with babies, maybe elderlies. And our housing, it's really a big issue. We address the food and the clothing and the needs, like clear down to a washcloth, shampoo. We're there to help them. And I think Georgia, you know, she keeps us up there on our education, you know. Me, I dropped out, then I re-got my GED 10 years later, and now I'm thinking of going to them to help me with computers. I'm 58 years old, but I do not know computers. Yeah, so that's my plan, but I really thank you guys all for letting us be here. My first time out of Wanblee for 25 years. And me, myself, I have a lot of grandkids, so, you know, people are probably missing us because we're open, but we're not, so I direct people to my house while we're gone. But, yeah, we really thank all you guys, and thank you for allowing us to speak and be here. And I thank the couple that kept us. I think I might stay. It's like a foster home. But I thank them, and I thank you all. Thank you very much for listening.
All right. Good morning. My name is Georgia Rooks, and I don't know. I was born and raised on a reservation, and I've got a lot of crazy stories in my life, but you know, the one I always tell is because you can obviously see that I'm part African American, right? I was about 4 or 5 years old, and I came out of my classroom, skipping down the sidewalk, and I didn't speak English, so I hear all these noises going on, and I couldn't figure out what it was. So I looked up, and all I saw was knees across my vision. I go, holy, what was that? You know, I didn't understand what they were saying, why I was looking at people's knees. So obviously, I wasn't very tall. And so I was looking, and I looked up, and I see these hands coming at me, and they're huge hands. And I screamed at the top of my lungs, ran back into my classroom. I sat under teacher's desk, sweating to death. Well, the Harlem Globetrotters came to play basketball at our school. So my mom had to come and get me, and my grandma said, you need to set this child down and tell her what she is. I grew up in a community that was all family, because as children, you know, they like to go play. We would be all over town before the sun goes down. Somebody within the last family we were at would take us home. And that's how I grew up. No one ever said anything. There was no prejudice, racism where I was concerned in my community. I was just like everybody else. So I grew up that way, not looking at color in people. As I grew up and then I became my parent, education was a big deal because my great-grandfather, I don't know how many of you seen the picture of Wounded Knee Massacre where all the people were frozen in the snow. Well, the one laying there is my grandfather. I'm one of his descendants. And I don't like the picture. I know what he was all about, helping our community, making sure we had a school there. People started building houses instead of living in teepees. So as we say, we're old school poor. So we will survive, and we've survived up until all the way to now. As I grew up, I was involved in Indian education for the last 50 years. My grandfather was German Irish. He had blonde hair or red hair, fair skin, blue eyes, and my grandmother was a Quaker. Well, his wife was a Quaker. She got expelled from her church because he was a Episcopalian. So we go from there skipping up. My grandfather was part of the 7th Missouri Cavalry, that was the culprit for killing my grandma's family. Okay, skip that. And then my grandfather, my mother's father, was half Indian, and my grandma was a full-blood Lakota woman. How they got by, I don't know. Language had to have been a barrier. So I grew up speaking Lakota. We'll get through that. I grew up, I've been involved in Indian ed from preschool to college. All these young people here were my students. At one point or another, they were, but they all getting their degrees, they all got their degrees. I have 4 children. Then I became a foster parent, and I've had about 40 kids go through our home. At one point, so then she became a foster parent, she became a foster parent. Between the 3 of us, we had like 30 kids in our house at one time, because they had nowhere to put these kids. We've had children that were neglected, abused, every kind. But before they left, I became mom. I adopted 3 girls, which we became mom. Luckily, got them all through high school without having babies, which was what was a goal for me, is to make sure, because we have a lot of teenage parents. And because we have teenage parents, we have a lot of children. Parents is a job that you have no handbook for. I mean, it's luck of the draw. You know, you do what you did, you do what your parents taught you. So I worked at the college for 22 and a half years. In our community, reservation-wide, has the highest graduation rates. But when they first came into the college, they were nervous, like all of us were. But majority of our students were reading below grade level, anywhere between 2nd grade and 8th grade. And so that's where we got the foundational studies program to get them prepared and get them ready. But they all graduated, which was an awesome feat for our community. We have no jobs. What jobs we do have are all saturated already. And you have to, most of them do seasonal jobs, going off the reservation to be burger flippers or housekeepers, and somebody's got to do it, you know, no matter what. We all travel, we all stay at hotels, so somebody has to clean those rooms when we go there. But I worked there, and then one day I went over to see what Mary was doing, because there was a lot of commotion, so I was being nosy. Yeah, so I went to go see her, and she was buzzing around like a bee trying to pollinate all these flowers. And I go, what's she doing? I was watching her, and all these people were there sitting around doing nothing. Well, here's this little old lady running around in a circle, trying to feed everybody and all of that. So then when I retired, I just moved over to her building to give her a helping hand. But, you know, you gotta understand, I grew up in that community. I know majority of the people, not the kids, but the adults and the elders and stuff. So when they need something, they will call me because I can speak the language that they speak. I tend to get nervy one time, and sometimes Mary tells me, shut it. And I work really hard at being nice, you know, getting people to do things without being mean. So now it's changing. People are changing now. It was, you got it, I want it, so give it to me. You know, this entitlement thing going on. But that's changing really quickly. People are now coming in and saying, I need this, what can I do to get it? Which is an awesome thing, because the more you give, the less, and it becomes a point where I want this, so give it to me. And now they're working for it. And then Akisha came along. Then I go through Facebook, and here he is taking pictures and, kind of PRing the whole thing on Facebook. And people are always on Facebook. I'm surprised nobody has their phones out, because you look at them, can you guys talk to each other on these phones instead of face to face? But, so like everybody's saying is we do appreciate everything that everybody helps us with to help teach our community to become self-sufficient, self-sustaining. And that's where the Tucker signing strategy comes in. And we spent a whole year planning how we're going to do this program. Bailey's a good example of the program working, because when she came, she didn't know nothing. It was just this little body floating around among all of us and having her being herself. But she can now read. She can, if she doesn't know a word, she can break it down, read the words, so there's a lot of hope. By teaching parents, this program becomes sustainable. If we run out of money, we're going to still go, because everybody has younger siblings, other children. So, she works with Head Start, she works with college, and I work with Mary in the community. And we do fine, but we do appreciate everything everybody has done for us, help us out, and give us a helping hand. And our community is beginning to appreciate that now. We do community food boxes once a week. It used to be twice a week, but we do it once a month now, and we try to make it a balanced food box. And every week we do food baskets for children K through 6. So we feed them for the weekend. Might not be a lot, but it's something that they can eat and not be hungry on the weekends. And thank you for listening to me.
Go ahead. Lisa's not going to talk. She runs the Head Start, so she sees the little ones. So my name is Dr. Dee Ackley, and my husband Jeff is in the back. We are members at Lutheran Church of the Master, and in 2012, our church used to go for 20 years to Mexico. And we did an intergenerational mission trip where we took, once you were confirmation age, you could go up through however old you wanted to go. And we would fly down to McAllen, Texas, rent vans, and drive down into Mexico. We went to the same mission. We built about 3 or 4 churches down there and then went back to those towns every summer. And we'd have 3 for the whole month of July. One group would go at the beginning of July, the next one would go the next week, and we'd meet each other in the McAllen Airport, pray, and go. And so we did medical, we did usually some kind of a Bible school, and then some kind of other build. And it was no longer safe because of the cartels to take our kids down there, especially our young women. We were told, don't come. And so we went with YouthWorks, and we took 5 young women from our church to YouthWorks in 2012. And I went as one of the sponsors. And while we were there, we were supposed to paint houses, and it poured rain. Like, it looked like somebody was standing outside with a bucket. And you can't paint in that kind of rain. So they took us up to the school and said, do something. That basically was so I went up and introduced myself to the principal at the time and explained who I was, and we went into the library, and the library had adult books and kids books just scrambled together. And so we took everything off the shelves that week, and it poured the whole week. I think they painted one day. And we took everything off the shelves and reorganized the library. And I got to know the principal a little bit. So then the next 5 years, I wandered in and out of Wanblee. I met Mary, I met Jerome Highhorse, and I came up and did some teacher ed. I was a professor at College of St. Mary. I came up and did some teacher training. And then I was supposed to go on sabbatical. And I was supposed to go over to Africa. And the area I was supposed to go in Africa became unsafe. And the Catholic Church said, you got to go somewhere. You can't keep teaching. You got to go somewhere. So I called the principal and said, what can I do? Can I come to Wanblee? So I spent a year teaching 5th grade. And my 5th graders at that time had about at any given day, 70% of them were in the room. I had 26 of them. And I finally said to them, guys, I can't teach you if you're not here. So we made a deal, and I paid them to come to school with Wanblee bucks for $10, and the people at Lutheran Church of the Master provided the stuff. Everything from canned goods to tennis shoes. Whatever you needed, you let me know. It went on the Wanblee bucks table with your name, and you had to earn it. My kids are now seniors this year. That's the pink streak in my hair. They put the pink streak in the first time with Crayola markers. Yeah. And I've kept up with those kids. And the graduation rate when they were in 5th grade was 25%. 25% of the kids in my room would graduate. So my parting gift to them was, 50% of you will make it to 8th grade. Who's that going to be? And they all raised their hand. I said, okay, it's your job to make sure the others are there. And I got to speak at their 8th grade graduation. 96% of them were there. That was the year of COVID, folks. They've got grit. I'm very proud of those kids. So they're seniors this year. They've made it to state championship in basketball the last 3 years with those kids as leaders. When they were freshmen, they called me and said, Dr. D, you told us that kids, when they go to dances in Omaha, have to be clean and sober. I said, they sure do. They even have somebody there with a breathalyzer. They helped arrange for police to be there with a breathalyzer. That's the little leaders they've become. I'm really proud of them. They're on scale for about 80% of them to graduate on time in May, and I'm going to be there. So I bet them money. So I owed them $20 at 8th grade graduation, and I was there with notes, personal notes, each one of them, and a $20 bill. I owe them $50 in May. I had to keep working this year so I could fund. I'm graduating. I'm retiring the 23rd. I'm retiring a second time, and I said to them, I had to work this year, guys, so I can afford to pay you off. But they're good. They're going to be college bound, and they're doing really well, and they've become great little leaders. So my husband and I go up once a month. We take a trailer load of whatever gets donated, from small furniture. So if you've got a bed you don't need, Jeff Ackley can haul it. He can bring those beds out of everywhere. Dressers, we take food, we take clothing, and at Lutheran Church of the Master, we have a big room that we sort it in, and then we have a storage unit where we keep the furniture. And we go up about once a month. During the summer, last summer, we did our first joint mission trip, and I would like to invite you all to go with us this May. We will leave Memorial Weekend and come back that following weekend. There's some things that we need to do. You saw the playground up there. That was my 5th grade kids' dream. Before I left, they made a list of the things that needed to happen at Wanblee to make it a better place to live. And they said there needed to be a playground in the park, and it needed to be mowed. The first time I was at the park, the weeds were above your knees, and the snakes would come in, so it wasn't a safe place to play. It's still an issue with the weeded areas. Kids get bitten by snakes, and they don't always have rattlesnake kits. So if there's something you want to do, that's something we could use money for, is to raise money to get rattlesnake kits so that the health center has them. Sometimes kids have to be taken into Rapid City, which is 2 hours. Yeah, and that's not safe. So there's still needs up there. But if I could tell you the things that I've seen change in Wanblee in that 12 years, it's amazing. And what I'm seeing is people like all these on this stage stepping up and saying, this is our community and we're going to take it forward. And they're doing it. And they're doing it. Black Elk made the prediction that this generation, the 7th generation from Wounded Knee, would bring their tribe back to. And these folks are doing it every single day. They work hard. There's a different pride in Wanblee that was there 12 years ago. There's a different feel. But I will tell you that once you go, you will go back, because you will have never be treated anywhere like you're treated like you are in Wanblee. The first time we came after COVID, we got special permission from the tribe to bring up a load as long as we stayed at Families Working Together, and we brought 2 truckloads of stuff, and we all had to have our shot records, and we pulled up, and it was 2 of the big brothers of my kids at the station, and they said, welcome home, Dr. D. And Wanblee is home. It is home, and if you go, it will become your home too. There's nothing like the way you're treated by the folks up there. There's certainly a love, and that last song, oh man, guys, we need to teach that up there because it's amazing. So if you have questions, I do serve on the Families Working Together board. If there's things that we can answer for you, if you ever want to go along on a weekend, there's sometimes I can't go, and Jeff would love another rear in the seat. It's a long drive by yourself. But truthfully, if you can go in May, do it. You will see a resilient and people with strong grit and a determination to bring that village forward. And it's happening because of their hard work.
So I just want to say thank you to all of you for being with us today, and for your stories, and for sharing a testimony of hope, optimism, and future vision. I was sharing with the folks here that when we were in Tanzania not too long ago, right before we left, our host said, "I want to apologize if in any way we did not show you hospitality. So I want to apologize if in any way we have not been gracious to you, we have not shown you hospitality, and we have not helped you to feel like you are part of Messiah family." And I want to thank all of you who have gone to the potluck last night, who have hosted these folks, and who have been here today to show them what hospitality looks like. So thank you for that. Does anyone have any questions? Anything that you would like to? Yeah. You're going to have to meet me halfway, brother. I'm not Phil Donahue. I can't run the steps like. Yeah.
Okay. As a young man in a community and you looking for answers to your guys' struggles or concerns, what are you going to do to make it for the younger generations to follow your path and see a right direction?
Thank you for that. I guess I think when I think about stuff like that, I think about like what influenced me as a child. It was by people showing up. People being there, people stepping in when they saw a need. People saw me getting into trouble and taking me aside and talking to me and stuff like that. See me running with the wrong crowd and putting the time in. You know what I mean? Just by being there and showing through example. Just by continuing to do what they do and being who they are, and whenever they see an opportunity to take it, being present is a big part of it, and coming back home and wishing things were different, tired of coming back for funerals or wakes or stuff like that. It just seems like I want to go to more graduations. I want to go to more award ceremonies and stuff like that, honorings and all that. So it's like, I started off helping out. My father called me and told me he needed some help, so I came and I've been helping him on his property. But in my free time, I started helping out with Mary. Sometimes I gave her my number, and sometimes she'd call me and say, "Hey, we need some help carrying some stuff off a truck." I was like, "All right, cool." I show up, it's like 100 beds, there's a dressers and all that, and I'm grateful for it. It's like it's good to show up and be able to help out, and I think a part of that for me is by showing them that like I'm here for them, by not taking anything for myself, by being selfless, walking away empty-handed, letting the kids see that, people are out here who just want to help, you know what I mean? And that like, that's what we should do for each other. That's how we get out of a lot of these negative situations, is just showing up and doing things because we want to see each other do good, because we want good to happen. And,
Could your ancestors be the way? Could your ancestors be the way?
Yeah, that's how we got here. It's how we survived.
Maybe condoling in
about 400 years of oppression or whatever. But, getting involved at the school and stuff like that. Talking to the kids, being a smiling face to greet them when they come in the mornings, and being there to encourage them and try to be as good an influence as I can. In spite of everything, it's like, show them that there is another way to go about doing things, without showing jealousy, without being selfish, and by being present, just like all those people in my lives were there for me to help get me out of trouble or stay out of trouble, you know.
Can you hear me? He is talking about the men, the boys, the girls, the women. The girls, we teach them how to get ready for womanhood. You teach them how to get ready for their menstruation cycle. You teach them how to sew. You teach them how to dry meat, bead. You know, you make the women's ceremony, you get you ready, you make your own dress. You sit there, make moccasins. There's those 4 days of your cycle, the woman will sit in a tent with a grandmother. But all our grandmothers are gone, so we're here to teach them that. You know, get them ready for the womanhood and the life of a woman. And it really does go a lot of help with Mary and Georgia and these girls. Me, I'm in and out. I'm in and out. I see a lot of you, but I can't remember faces because they call me, and when they get a load, I just go in. I'm like a workhorse. They were talking about a donkey. If you bring a donkey, someone have a wagon. But yeah, that's the woman. We get the womanhood ready too, so thank you.
More questions? Anyone else have a question? Anything? All right. Well, thank you very much, and thank you all for being here. Now let's go eat some waffles.